Send them to suicide.
Okay, let me know if you can hear her.
Herself in another cold
Hey,
cemetery.
Andre. Hey, sweetie. It was great speaking
And I
with you
started to
yesterday.
wonder if I was
Dave
next.
and Robert and Linear Bob.
It's a
Everybody
struggle
like and
to
share. Like
know
and
that you're
share.
facing challenges, but not being ready to face them.
Okay.
Sleep doesn't come easy, and when it comes, it doesn't last long.
Can you hear
You're
her?
tired. Oh,
I'm still refreshing the feed and not seeing it,
reach out for that help.
but I'll let you know the second I hear it.
Okay, perfect.
She got me registered. For
Pastor
Wounded Warrior
Johnson.
Project. Talking.
He still
Let me run in the
needs-
other room real quick to just check the time.
Okay.
'Cause it's probably getting close.
Absolutely,
it was good to.
There's a new.
It was good to see on Cosmopolitan's program that you were the psalmist this past Sunday.
I was supposed to be, but you know what happened? Hurricane Ophelia. They canceled my flight, and I couldn't get in.
CPT 820.
So I've got to get back over there so that I can be the psalmist. I said, let's just work out on Sunday because I hadn't planned to go to the CBC dinner. You know.
Hey, we are coming up.
Okay, can you hear Pastor Johnson?
I'll let you know in 1 second.
You should be able to hear her. Switched audio settings. Pastor Johnson, can you say something?
Well, they had a wonderful 100 celebration.
Stand by. Hey, Tony.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It's a joy to be with you today. We got a lot going on today. Let's talk on Legal Q&A with CK about President Biden getting on the picket line. It's historic. No American president has ever done that brilliant move. And of course, we will have the Republican debates tonight. Donald Trump will be there. And he did announce that he was going to Michigan first to be with the UAW workers, but Biden kind of got in on him. He's planned that trip quickly and got in and got on the picket line at that. So that was a big deal. I want to know what your thoughts are about that. Is that a game changer? Is that something that's going to help the Democrats going forward? Is it something that's going to help the workers more than that? I mean, the parties, they're going to be what they are. I'm talking about having a livable and a prosperity wage for workers, about fulfilling a promise. These workers saved the auto industry, and they said, we'll give up our pensions and we will give up our cost of living increases, which we negotiated with you in good faith. We will do that until you get on your feet. And so they did that. And there was a 30% jump in auto prices. Good. They're making money. There was a 40% jump in CEO compensation. Okay, but they got a 6% raise. What? Come on, you guys. You've got to do better than that. Not to mention the fact that over the past 10 years, they have made $250 billion. This year alone, in the half a year, they've made $21 billion, the big three, GM, Stellantis, and Ford. Come on. That's what this is about. And when you talk about the 40-hour work week and they only want to work 32 hours, no. It's not quite that simple. So we're going to be talking about that today on the Santita Jackson Show, just politically how this played out, how this will play out, and when this strike will be over, because indeed it is spreading, even as GM, Stellantis, and Ford are beginning to lay off workers. So it's kind of interesting. And then Commissioner Bill Lowry here in Chicago, Cook County Commissioner Bill Lowry, a man of great esteem, a lawyer, a family man, married with 3 children, wonderful family from top to bottom. He is a prostate cancer survivor. And because he has done well in life and he was able to get an early diagnosis and was able to get the cancer in check, he wants that for all of his constituents. Whether you are in Cook County or not, he is having a men's health fair. Black men in the United States, Pastor Vicki Johnson, have the worst health outcomes of any group in the United States. So you'll be able to get free health screenings. You'll be able to speak with mental health care professionals because, when you get these diagnoses, it's frightening. So it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow at the Apostolic Church of God at 64th and Dorchester. We're going to be talking about that with him and talking about his own walk of faith as he, when you get this, no one expects to go to the doctor and get a cancer diagnosis. So how did he deal with that? And how did that inspire him to say, you know what, whether my constituents are insured or whether the people of Chicago and the county of Cook, whether the people within the sound of my voice, because you can all go to this event, whether you're insured or not, you can speak to someone tomorrow and get some hope and get some help. That's right. Call me at 773-763-9278. Hey, Barbara Bacon from Oak Park, Illinois. I'm Santita Jackson coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. And I am also coming to you on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please get on over there, everybody. The Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. And so call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, and let us get with some of the news headlines. A New York judge found that Donald Trump committed fraud for a decade. The former president and his company inflated his net worth in New York, where the Trump Organization is headquartered, according to a judge's ruling yesterday. His company will no longer be able to do business in the state. He doesn't face prison time in this $250 million civil suit, but he does in 4 criminal cases. And tonight he will skip the second Republican presidential debate to be with the UAW workers. The debate itself, though, starts at 9 p.m. Eastern on Fox and on Univision. The Senate moved forward on a deal to avert a government shutdown. The deal announced yesterday would fund the government for 6 weeks. Without additional funding, the government would shut down on Sunday. The bill must clear a final hurdle in the Senate. Then it would face an uncertain future in the House, where Republicans are focused on long-term funding bills. So it's not over yet, everybody. A shutdown could wreak havoc on federally funded programs, including Medicare, passport operations, and on and on and on it goes. A fire at an Iraqi wedding hall killed at least 100 people. God bless all of those souls. The U.S. and 17 states filed a major lawsuit against Amazon. They said that the company is operating an illegal monopoly that drives up prices for Americans to increase its power. It's not surprising to me. Haven't you noticed that, Pastor Johnson, when you go into the store, you can't find certain products anymore? But if you go on your phone and go to Amazon, it's right there. Look, I'm just saying, the Hollywood writers' strike is over. The Writers Guild of America's leadership voted yesterday to end the strike, so members can return to work while voting on the deal with studios. Actors remain on strike. God bless them. This is a 3-year contract securing minimum staffing levels, significant residuals from streaming shows, and protections against the use of AI in script writing. Baseball legend Brooks Robinson has made his transition. The Hall of Famer helped the Orioles win 2 World Series titles. He was a human vacuum cleaner. That's how he was known. He was considered the best defensive third baseman in the history of baseball. 86 years of age, Brooks Robinson. That's one of my family names, by the way. 65 degrees today will be the high in Chicago. Showers. And Minneapolis, St. Paul, 69 degrees. It will be cloudy. The NFL uncharacteristically had a night off last night in Major League Baseball. The Twins 11, the Oakland Athletics, that's right, Reggie Jackson's old team, 3. Atlanta 7, Cubs 6, just barely eking it out. Diamondbacks 15. Oh, the White Sox 4. And in the WNBA playoffs, the Liberty 84, the Suns 77, the Aces 91, and the Wings 84. Those are some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. Whew. Pastor Vicki Johnson, not 1, but 2 churches. Not 1, but 2. You got to talk to me. Where can we worship with you on Sundays?
On Sunday, you can worship with me at Lebanon Lutheran Church, 13100 South Manistee at 9 a.m. And then at St. Thomas Lutheran Church on 80th and Jeffrey Boulevard at 11:30 a.m. Both can be viewed on Facebook.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What is the good news today?
Well, today, good morning, Santita, good morning to all of your morning stars and friends. There is good news. Don't break before your breakthrough. Don't break before your breakthrough. One of the most difficult things for us to do in life is to wait. We've had to do it all of our lives, and we still don't like it. We waited for a dangling tooth to finally fall out so that the tooth fairy could come. We've waited from July to December for Christmas, creating a list along the way and checking it twice. And then on December 24th, we could not wait to see what would be under the tree on Christmas Day. When asked how old we were as children, we would say 12 and a half because we couldn't wait to be 13, a big-time teenager. As adults, we apply for credit and can't wait until it is approved, so we break and go to the quick cash store with ridiculous interest rates, and our breakthrough was right around the corner. We pray for healing in our minds, bodies, spirits, relationships, and the like. And as we get right on the brink of the breakthrough, we break because it didn't happen fast enough. They say that good things come to those who wait. The prophet Isaiah put it this way, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength." I know you get tired of waiting. I know it's not easy. I know you wish there was another way. I do too. If while you are waiting, you stay close to your God through prayer, reading the Word of God and other spiritual material, and surrounding yourself with supportive and encouraging people, then the wait will be better. Also, just sing a simple song. It will strengthen you so that you will not break before your breakthrough. Please learn to wait. It will pay off in the end. And that way, you will not break before your breakthrough. If you will do this, and I believe that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen. Pastor Vicki Johnson. It is, when did we start saying I'm 16 and a half? 18, well, when you turn 30, how about that? Like, no, I'm holding right here. What did Aretha Franklin say? I'm 29 and holding. She was all of 70, but I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I love you, Queen. Don't visit me in a dream tonight and frighten me. Love you, Queen. Love you, Queen. As we all know, Miss Franklin was a queen. She was that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
How can we worship with you once again on Sundays?
You can worship with me on Sundays at Lebanon Lutheran Church, 13100 South Manistee at 9 o'clock a.m. And then at St. Thomas Lutheran, 80th and Jeffrey Boulevard, each Sunday at 11:30 a.m. for an hour of power. And both services can be viewed on Facebook.
I love it. And I love you, Pastor Johnson. Got to get together with you. We have to sing a song for Reverend and for Rainbow Push for the Christmas holiday.
Right.
Come on now. Yes. We got to figure that out now. Come on.
Yes. We will.
Let's okay. Put on our thinking cap. Sending you so much love. Hey, everybody. We have got Dr. Shanita Knighton. Hey, Dr. Nina. Hey, Dr. Nina. Talking to us about infection prevention. What did the old folks used to say? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Thought I'd bring that up to you this morning because that's what you keep saying in so many words. Dr. Knighton, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Santita. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You tell me what is going on. What are we looking at right now?
So I think yesterday, an interesting topic that we touched upon is just accountability for ineffective and I would say uneducated infection prevention and control measures. as being a very important topic. And so this is one of those things that's near and dear to my heart because we understand how divided the country may be when it comes to vaccinations. We just know that it's a thing, right? And so it's something that cannot be ignored. But just because someone chooses to not get vaccinated does not mean that it is not my duty, you know, as a professional to still provide information that can still protect all. And so I know that we talk about simple measures, and simple measures being, let's say, correct hand hygiene, making sure that you're cleaning where the thumb meets the hand, making sure that if you're a lady and you wear fingernails, artificial nails, you have long nails, that you actually have a fingernail scrub brush to make sure that you are scrubbing up under the nails. And if you're wearing jewelry, that you're scrubbing your jewelry. This is important because up under the fingernails, as well as with the rings and any bracelets, they harbor germs. And the germs that they harbor, you pick up from things in the environment. You could be that person that's, let's say, making some sort of processed meat, such as a ground meat or some chicken. And some of that bacteria gets trapped up under the fingernails as well as get trapped up under the rings. So it is essential that you have some sort of scrub brush and are cleaning not only where the thumb meets the hand, but up under your jewelry as well as and I'm saying jewelry on your fingers as well as jewelry that may be on your wrist. So I want to share that tidbit and how important that is. I also want to say that when it comes to soap, not one size fits all. When it says antibacterial on a soap, an antibacterial soap does not kill fungus and it does not kill viruses. It does not say antiviral and it does not say antifungal on the soap. So it is essential for people to know that you still need to clean your hands for 20 to 25 seconds and recognize that those items such as fungus or viruses are not covered by antibacterial soap. That's why it's called antibacterial, because it's against bacteria. So I just want to point that out, that when you are cleaning your hands, that being an essential ingredient isn't as important as the actual moves, the actual friction, and the actual work that you're going to put into your hands when cleaning them.
You know, we don't really think about that, you know, up under the nails, up under the jewelry. It's I just wanted to emphasize that point, everybody. I guess because I don't have long nails, but I have enough of a nail that goes above my fingertip, right? So that's a little bit of length too, right?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So any nails that would have, like when you know that you can see, let's say, I call them white tips, right? Which is where the fingernail protrudes growing over the nail bed. Then you have some sort of fingernail that can harbor germs, and it is still important that you would scrub up under it. That's so important. I cannot emphasize it enough that hand hygiene is the single most important way to prevent germs that can lead to the acquiring of an infection or the spreading of germs that lead to infection. With that, some may downplay it and think it is so simple, but we have to understand how life-changing it is. You may touch your face up to 2,000 times per day. Imagine touching your face with hands that have touched surfaces that hundreds and thousands of other people have touched. Imagine touching your face after you inappropriately clean your hands after coming in contact with raw meat. Imagine not cleaning your hands after you have been caring for your pet who may have not had a bath or who is also deemed to be unclean. I can give so many different scenarios, including our steering wheel, Santita. Many people, and I'm just going to give an example, will get inside of their car and they might be eating French fries while driving their car. And I challenge people, when was the last time you cleaned your steering wheel?
I'm speechless. Oh, wait a minute. What about your doorknob? Bring that down just a little bit, Henry. What about your doorknob?
Your doorknobs is essential. Refrigerator handles are essential. Any button that is going to be commonly touched by multiple people is essential. When valet is valeting all of those different cars, do you think that they clean their hands before they touch your car and touch your keys? It's essential to think about small things because they've touched many steering wheels, they've touched many keypads, they've touched many keys. So it's, again, things like small habits, but think about how important your hands are to the transmission of germs. People may think that their face may be breaking out because of some sort of food element, but imagine your face breaking out because your hands are unclean and you've introduced some sort of contaminant to your face.
All right, bring up the music. Here we go. Commissioner Bill Lowry. Ooh, it's a lot. But you know what? All it requires is consciousness and conscientiousness, everybody. At the top of the
That's
hour,
it, being mindful.
being mindful, being mindful. Hey, Dr. Nina, Heydrnina. Hey, Dr. Nina, Heydrnina. Watch those knobs, your steering wheel, your computer surfaces, and on and on and on and on. Anything that other people use, the remotes, all of that. And the webbing in your fingers, under your nails, the jewelry, all of that. Please. Transmission. Let's talk about the health of Black men. The worst health outcomes in the United States, that's Black men. Cook County Commissioner Bill Lowry wants to do something about it. There is a free health fair for you tomorrow at the Apostolic Church of God, 64th and Dorchester. Let's talk with him about it. Back in just a minute. Dr. Knighton.
Good morning.
Hey, sweetie. Can you say hello to Commissioner Bill Lowry? He also is a prostate cancer survivor as well, and so he is
Hi, Commissioner.
Commissioner.
Hey, how are you, Santita?
It's great hearing your voice. How's your family?
Yeah, we're doing great. Cheryl said, make sure you say hi to my friend. I'm saying hello for my wife.
Give my girl my love. Not that I don't love you.
I know it. I got it. And I will. I will. It is great to join you.
Wait a minute. Not that I don't love you, but I'm like, wait a minute. You know I was about to mention Cheryl and Bill Jr.
Yeah, but Whitney Young has a whole special thing, though.
Come on. And Evan and Clark. I was like, come on now. Hey, we're the Dolphins. Okay.
That's it.
I went through that whole thing. Yes, I did. But I want you to meet someone. Commissioner, this is someone, she's based in Cleveland, but she has international standing. And this is someone who has not been in this discussion in terms of healthcare, not just the pandemic, but our healthcare. We got to find a way to get her to Chicago and to Cook County. And I want to connect you to Dr. Shanita Knighton. She's a registered nurse. She's also an infection preventionist. She's been a lecturer at Case Western Reserve University, one of the top people in her field. I didn't even know about the field of infection prevention, but it's a very real field. How many of you are there in the United States, Dr. Knighton?
There are about 35,000 total, and actually not in the United States, it's in the world.
I was about to say in the world. I mean, there are 8 billion of us here, right? And what she does, and her story is compelling. Young Black woman, not even 40, first person in her family to get a high school diploma, let alone a PhD. She's been trying to reach into the community, into all communities, vulnerable ones, but the Black people, Black folks, because, we're really struggling in Cleveland. And, and we need to have someone who talks to us about hand hygiene, and about lots of things that we need to be doing. And we need to be teaching our children in the schools how they can be safe.
Absolutely.
Because, these shots they might mitigate your illness. They might do that. For some people, they don't. But what they don't do is prevent infection or spread. So
exactly, Dana, we're not talking enough about air. We don't talk about the safety of air and how transmission happens because of that, or not cleaning environmental surfaces properly, incorrect mask wearing, which is still a thing. So there's a lot of topics that she mentioned, but I think the most important thing is teaching people how to incorporate infection prevention and control into their daily lives. And even my science right now, so embarking upon hygiene poverty and the fact that because people, specifically essential workers, do not have adequate detergents, they don't have adequate soaps, they might not have adequate machines to be able to keep themselves clean or keep their environment clean, how this leads to a higher risk for infection.
Doctor, I would love to make sure you get to talk to the folks at over at Cook County Department of Public Health, because what you're talking about is just so important. And as Santita said,
back in 30,
not only for our youth, but also for our seniors and then everyone in between. So that would be my pleasure to do that.
Absolutely. And our frontline workers. I mean, people are not being protected, Commissioner. And
yep, no, that's right.
Because they don't know. They don't know. So if you don't mind, let me know how I can connect her to you. But she's one of the top people in the world. She was brought to me by the dean of global public health at NYU, and so that's the kind of standing that she has. So stand by, everybody.
You have my cell. You have my cell. My favorite congressman has my cell. Give it to the doctor.
All right.
Change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Pivoting out of this segment that we've had every day, that we've had the privilege of having, Dr. Shanita Knighton, of course, on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Meet my morning stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Hey, Cindy Neufeld, I see you, girl. I see you, Andre. I see you, Dave Dowling up there in cold Canada, and Ari down there in Brazil, sending you much, 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 much love. D-Ray, hey, sweetie, all of you. Everybody, like and share the show, One of my favorite people, Cook County Commissioner Bill Lowry, is bringing to the community tomorrow at the Apostolic Church of God at 64th and Dorchester. There is a free men's health fair, free health screenings, free fitness training sessions, mental health sessions. I mean, yeah, you need that. Why? Because if you get a diagnosis that's unsettling, you need help. What about dental health? There's a direct tie between your dental health and your overall physical health. In fact, Dr. Lowry, Commissioner Lowry and Dr. Knighton, my mother, this was obviously 1,000 years ago, she had not told anyone she was pregnant with my brother Yusuf, who just had his birthday yesterday. Happy birthday again, Yusuf.
Yes, you did.
And she went to get her teeth examined, and the doctor looked in her mouth, and as he was finished, he said, "So when are you having your baby?" And my mother said, "Wait a minute, what? I haven't told." He said, "Oh, I could see when I looked in your mouth, I saw that you were pregnant." And he just, wow. Dr. Jim Buckner, he made his transition, but he was, someone who your parents knew, Commissioner Lowry. I mean, one of the leading lights in our community on the civic and in terms of our health care. But you're doing a whole lot. And I would say that is from 5 to 8 tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. It's free raffles, furniture giveaway, blood drive. But it's so important. You're one of my favorite people, Karen Yarborough, our Cook County clerk, is there with you. And of course, one of my pastors, Byron Brazier, Dr. Byron Brazier. It's important. I think, how would you say that as we talk about the health at the health fair, and my love to your wife, Cheryl, who's my fellow Dolphin, and your children, Bill and Evan and Clark, love you all, my little godchildren.
I love you right back.
love you. But I want to know, how has your own prostate cancer journey impacted how you look at healthcare delivery? Because so many, you, of course, you're a successful lawyer, you do well, and you, of course, are a leader in the community, and you have access to healthcare, but a lot of us don't. And even then, you also had some doctors who are culturally sensitive, because that makes a big difference too. Right? So how has your journey impacted what you're doing tomorrow?
Oh, I first of all, Santita, thank you for everything that you do for all of us, for our community. We love you. We appreciate you. And I just want to absolutely shine a light on your good work. And we need you. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you.
But I'm excited. Yes. Tomorrow, we're going to have my 3rd annual Men's Health Fair. And as you said, it will be at Apostolic Church of God, 6320 South Dorchester. We'll run from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have health screenings. We're going to have fitness training sessions. We're going to have mental health services provided, dental care services provided. We're going to have a property after death forum. We're going to have a blood drive. We're going to have a furniture giveaway. My brothers from Black Men United will be there giving away brand new furniture to our community. We're going to have information about COVID vaccinations. And then we're also going to have a lot of information about prostate cancer awareness. And the reason why I hold the Men's Health Fair every September is because September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And if no other words are remembered that I utter today or tomorrow at the fair, remember this. No man should die from prostate cancer. No man should die from prostate cancer. And I'm so pleased to be tomorrow with my sister, Clerk Yarbrough. And, you know, the clerk has her own testimony because her husband has gone through with prostate cancer. And praise be to God, he came through on the other side of that as well. I'm going to have 45 healthcare partners there. I'm going to have a number of fellow electeds who are my brothers and sisters there tomorrow, including Congressman Jonathan Jackson, Commissioner Dennis Deere, Alderman David Moore. I'm going to have State Senators Robert Peters and Maddie Hunter, State Rep Cam Buckner, my sister, Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor. We're all going to be there tomorrow, and we're going to be there just seeing the brothers and sisters from our community who we love and who we serve. This is so important because when I talk about prostate cancer, I'm not talking about it based on what I've heard or what I've been told. I'm talking about it based on what I've lived. And there's steps that all men need to take so that they can, first of all, have knowledge as to whether or not they have prostate cancer. Knowledge is power. Whatever the fight you have, it may be cancer of the prostate or breast cancer, whatever it is, the earlier you know about it, the better your outcome is going to be. So the steps are this. I want to make sure that the brothers have annual physicals. And one way, Santita, to make sure you do that is get your physical the same month of your birthday. And then when you have your physical, you make sure your blood is drawn so that your PSA level can be determined. That's your prostate-specific antigen level. That's the test that comes from your blood test. And if you have a PSA of 4 or above, that is too high, and that's indicative of you maybe having prostate cancer. You also have to allow your physician to do the digital exam. And I've had a lot of brothers that say, I don't want to get a prostate exam because I don't want the digital exam. Well, first of all, it's 2 to 3 seconds, and it's vitally important. And what's important to know about that test is the prostate, when you have the digital exam, it should feel like a sponge, not like a walnut. So once you've had that, if your PSA level's above 4, you then will be given, in all likelihood, a pelvic MRI, which will determine if you have inflammation around your prostate. Now, you can have inflammation, and it can be non-cancerous, or the inflammation can be cancerous. And normally that is determined if the inflammation is seen by a subsequent biopsy where little snippets of the prostate are taken and then examined. And if it is shown that you have prostate cancer, it's a slow-growing cancer. So you're going to be given 3 options. One would be surveillance, meaning your doctor would just keep an eye on it and see if the cancer seems to be spreading over the course of time. 2, you can be offered radiation, which will kill the cancer cells that are engulfing the prostate. Or 3, you can have removal of the prostate. So with me, my journey started in October of 2019. Why? Because my birthday is October 21st. So I went and had my physical, and my PSA level was 6.8. And then that led us after that. But my digital exam, my prostate felt like a sponge. It felt normal, but the PSA level was high. It was 6.8. I then had the pelvic MRI, which showed the inflammation. And then I had the biopsy. And I got a call after the biopsy from the hospital, and they said, based on the biopsy, no cancer is found. So, Santita, I exhaled, right? Mm-hmm. 5 days later, my doctor calls me from Bali. If your doctor calls you from Bali, Hello. It is not good news. He called me from Bali. He said, based on a second viewing, I, in fact, had early-stage prostate cancer. Again, as I said, it's a slow...
Let me stop you right there. Because when you hear that, we're all human. We're human. which is why I'm glad that you at this fair
Right.
will have mental health professionals. Were you frightened? How did you process that? How did you share that with your wife? Did you decide to share it with your children? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
how'd you do
I
that?
was devastated. I was devastated. No one wants to hear you have cancer. But on the other hand, I am a man of God, and I know I've got a purpose, and I also know I have a lot to do. So I compartmentalized it and just went about what I had to do as we, prepared to deal with it. So I found that out in October of 2019. We decided, myself and the doctor and my family, and I told my family right away, of course, that we'd get through the holidays, and that's what we did. So I actually had my procedure January 16th of 2020. And I had elected not only to have removal of the prostate, but I wanted to use the new robotic method. And it's also called the Da Vinci method. And it's when a robot actually removes the prostate. And it's a lot less invasive than the old open procedure that men had to go through years ago. It's a shorter recovery period, a lot less pain. So that's what we did. So the day of the procedure, January 16th of 2020, they're starting to put me to sleep, Santita, and as they roll me into the operating room, I see a huge white robot to the left of me. And then across the room is a monitor. And they say, there's your robot, and your physician will be across the room at the monitor controlling the movement of the robot. I go, wow. The next thing I know, it's 4 hours later, I'm waking up in recovery without a prostate. And that day, I was walking, and Cheryl and I, that day, we did a videotape, me in the hospital, saying to the men what I had gone through, how I had gotten there. And the reason I did that video was that I wanted to make sure that men who had to go down this road after me knew it will be okay. And I'm so glad that we did it. We still, we're asked for the video all the time. And then after the procedure, the predominant sensation was not pain. It was discomfort. And I was able to manage that with Tylenol and Motrin, never took the opioid that they gave me. There was a short period of incontinence, which is going to follow a procedure when you have your prostate removed, but that resolved fully. And then there's often erectile. Go ahead.
Okay, Commissioner, explain to them what incontinence is.
And everyone, that's Dr.
is-
Shanita Knighton, who wanted to stay, Commissioner, with all due respect, because I just said, hey, this, first of all, we admire your courage. And this is something I think that's very difficult. Oh my gosh, it's difficult for men and those of us who have relationships with men in our lives, who we love so much. Sometimes it can be really hard to get you all to move on an exam, Commissioner.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, with all due respect, I'm loving you, but
No, I'm loving you right back. And Doctor and Santita, that's why one of the most important messages, too, beyond no man should die from prostate cancer, is that our sisters have a vital role in this whole process. Whether you're a daughter, a sister, a mother, or a wife, it is often you that make sure we men take care of ourselves.
But explain incontinence, because many of you can be.
That's just for the audience.
That's right.
No, thank you. Incontinence is when you have from time to time, you will have urine that escapes without you wanting it to. And what I experienced was after surgery, I would have spurts of urine that would escape when I either laughed suddenly or coughed, something like that. And over the course of the weeks, as your sphincter muscle, which is a muscle inside of your body in the area where the prostate is, as that strengthens and as you recover, you again can control your release of urine. But for a couple of weeks, you're going to have some incontinence following the removal of your prostate. The other post-surgical hurdle you're going to have is some erectile dysfunction, but that can be treated with medication. But again, the important thing is what I experienced, and that was after the removal of my prostate. I was told by my physician the prostate was less than 1% cancerous. It had not spread to my lymph nodes or to my margins, and in his words, I was cured. So I'll deal with incontinence, I'll deal with ED, but I'm here breathing, I'm here loving, and I'm here serving. And that's the message. No man should die from prostate cancer.
And also, when you have your infrastructure, my pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, he baptized me, used to talk about having your infrastructure. You have a beautiful wife, beautiful children, family, a family of friends. I'm a part of that, who love you, who, I mean, who say, hey, 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 how can we be helpful? How can we be supportive? I mean, because
That's right.
the thing is also, it's like, if you need to wear a diaper, wear a diaper. Do it.
But
If you
you
need to
do.
exercise
That's
your
right.
sphincter muscle, then do it. And, and
That's it.
We
share
call
it with
them
people. I
we
mean,
call them briefs, Santita.
yes.
We call them briefs.
Briefs. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Briefs. All right. I call them diapers. Sorry.
And
See,
look,
because wait
the
a minute, because
older
when
we
he was
get,
talking about incontinence, I said he sounds like he's getting older. But I'm going to leave that alone.
but
So-
look, as we get older, things are going to happen. But that's why knowledge is power. That's why early detection is so important, because the sooner you know what's going on in your body, the sooner you address what's going on in your body, the better your prognosis will be. Prognosis is a fancy word that doctors use to talk about how the rest of your life's going to play out. You can have a better prognosis if you attack a disease within your body as early as possible.
My question for you is this. I mean, because Black male health statistics in the United States are really, they're abysmal.
Right.
You have the worst health outcomes of any group in the United States. You live 7 to 10 years less. That's why we look at Social Security and we're like, well, we're not going to collect it. You have higher death rates than Black women for all leading causes of death. About 40+% of you are overweight.
Right.
What is it? Heart disease, cancer, suicide, which is something we don't really talk about.
Yeah.
That's strokes, and just on and on and on and on. What is it? What if you don't have a primary care physician? Everybody does not have great insurance. What are you supposed to do?
Well, that's right. And to your point, one of the reasons why we see the disparity, it's just that. It's the healthcare disparity in our community, as opposed to other communities. The life expectancy is 30 years higher on the north side of Chicago than it is on the south side. And that's one of the reasons why I'm in this space and I'm serving as I am. One of the things I must continue to do, and what I pray for, is infused knowledge, because we need knowledge from beyond what we've gotten from a book. But we've got to come up with a way where we can offer preventative medicine to all of us, not just those who have insurance coverage or certain jobs. We need to make sure we do that. For too long, we've used the emergency room as our primary care physician. So it starts with fairs like I'm having tomorrow, where I'll have 45 healthcare providers there, where I'll have representatives from Insight Hospital and from Provident Hospital and from Stroger Hospital there, so that members of our communities can sign up and get a primary care physician. It really starts with us presenting to our community all that's out there, because for too long we have not been given the opportunity to have the same ability to get health care that others have. And those days have to end. People like myself, people like my brother, Commissioner Dennis Deere, who just had a lung transplant and will be there tomorrow. We're there to give testimony about not only the import of taking care of what's going on in your body and knowing what's going on in your body, but we also want to be vessels to make sure members of the community can get to the right individuals given whatever their health care need is. And to your point, mental health care is as important as traditional physical health care.
Because no one talks about suicide, particularly within the Black male space. But that is a real issue, because they even talk with, when you talk about crime, they suicide by homicide. Many of our young men are walking into situations they know they're not going to come out of alive, because they just don't want to live anymore. I mean, Tupac said, "Hey, if I make it to 21." If I make it to 25, I mean, that in my space, that doesn't happen. I mean, but so you're going to have mental health care professionals there.
Yes. And that will also include representatives from the Turn Center. Pastor Chris Harris is another brother to me. And, Cheryl and I had a nonviolence organization we started after Hydea was shot and killed 10 feet from our yard. But when I ran for office and was elected commissioner of the 3rd District, we folded our group, TITO, the It's Time organization, into Chris Harris's Turn Center. And the focus there is post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's what we're experiencing, whether it's just based on life whether it's based on jobs, whether it's based on the pandemic. We are seeing self-medication like we never have before. We're seeing suicide like we never had before. People are just looking for answers. And this is one of those moments, Santita, where we need all hands on deck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say I pray on a daily basis for infused knowledge. We need to do things differently than we've done before. As I talk to you right now, we've got just under 6,000 individuals who are being detained at Cook County Jail. 75.4% are Black, and of that percentage, 96.1% are brothers. That is a clarion call. And 48% of the individuals being detained at Cook County Jail have been determined to have a mental health concern. We need to stop resourcing the penal system and start resourcing our communities and our neighborhoods with mental health facilities and experts who know how to help us, who can keep us from being a part of that penal system. Those are the things that keep me going each and every day, get me up each and every day, and that's the work.
Ricardo Mendoza, I want you to give a special word to him. He's one of our morning stars. He said, thank you for this segment. As I get ready for work, I am going through the same thing. Oh, God bless you. As you speak to your panel,
up, brother. We're lifting you up.
Love your show and your topics. It gets to me because I've been so blessed in my life to have had access to the best healthcare. My doctor, Dr. Andrew Thomas, lived across the street. So I didn't know how to make a proper doctor's appointment until I was about 25 or 26. I was living in New York because I waited till Dr. Thomas got home. Then Dr. Zoller lived 2 doors down. And then Dr. Carter lived around I lived around a lot of doctors and a lot of lawyers. So there were a lot of things, my brothers and my baby sister and I talk about it all the time. It's like, there's some stuff that we missed because our immediate neighborhood, we saw lots of doctors. There are very few Black doctors in the United States. There are very few Hispanic doctors in the United States. And I think, one of the things that Congressman Jackson, my brother, was talking about was the cultural sensitivity. He had gone to a big name hospital that we go to that has a tremendous sterling reputation. Then he went to the neighborhood clinic, and it was the neighborhood doctor who knew him, who was Black, who said, your numbers are great. Number one, you don't have diabetes. You don't have hypertension. He said, so you're an anomaly in the Black community. But he said, I see some numbers here, and here that I want to do them again because, Black man risks, but and so very fortunate in that. But what do you do to the Ricardos? And not just the Ricardos, I mean folks who don't have insurance. I mean folks who just people, and there's some folks who are working who are not adequately covered, Commissioner Lowry.
So one thing I'll say, and I'm so glad you asked that. First of all, I want to encourage everyone within the realm of my voice. Feel free to go to commissionerlowry.com, commissionerlowry.com. And if you're looking for a primary care physician, you let me know. I have 8 hospitals in my district. I will do my very best to get you a list of physicians who can be your primary care physician. The other thing to keep in mind is when we look at our systems with Cook County, so we're talking Stroger, and we're talking Provident, which is one of the gems of my district, we don't turn anyone away. And we have what is called charity care. But what that really means is we recognize that we stand in a community that has been victimized by decades of disinvestment and institutional racism. So if you come to Provident or you come to Stroger, you're going to be seen. And that is what we do. So that's a partial answer. I can help get individuals in our community to primary care physicians. And then for individuals who may not have insurance, you come to Provident, you come to Stroger, you come to one of our Cook County clinics, you will be seen.
We're talking with Commissioner Bill Lowry. Commissioner Lowry, I need you to come back tomorrow because that is when you're having your fair. I'm getting a lot of people reaching out. Ricardo said the only thing that he's going through is that Cigna and Loyola, I'm putting it out there, have not come to an insurance agreement, and he has to look for new providers to finish getting this process behind him or take the next process because he can't get his MRI. Okay.
Well,
Yes.
Santita, we just cut the ribbon on a new MRI center at Providence, and I'm so proud of that. So let's talk to him about Providence. I can help. I'll get him before Dr. Arnold Turner, and we'll be able to take care of him.
Okay, Ricardo, call me right now. Call me right now at 773-763-9278. I know we're going to pivot to another topic, but I'm going to connect you to Commissioner Lowry's office so that you can get,
wonderful.
Okay, Ricardo, call at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278 very quickly. And you'll be coming back on at the same time you're on. I'm going to hold Dr. Knighton on as well so that we can talk to her. Let us know the who, what, the why, and the where on this free health fair. Commissioner Lowry, 1 minute long. Well, no, stay right there. I'm going to catch you on the other side. That's how you open up my new segment. How about that? As we talk about the UAW strike. Stay right there, everybody. There's a free health fair at the Apostolic Church of God tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. You don't want to miss it. Ricardo, call me right now. I love you, Pierre Walker. I love you. I love you. Back in just a minute on the Santita Jackson Show. Pardon me, Pierre. He said, "Don't cry, Sandy." You know what, Commissioner and Dr. Knighton, I just get so grateful. I've become very full. I get the crying, not from Mom. Congressman Jackson and I cry. We get that from our father. He cries at the drop. He cries at the drop of a hat.
I love it. I love your father. I love your father.
He loves you. But I thank you.
And your mother. I love your mother.
Well, she is.
Your parents are amazing.
And she's a caution. That's why you like her, because my mother will say she is very honest, everybody.
But we are blessed. We are blessed by both of them. We really are.
Absolutely.
We really are.
Well,
and your entire family.
Well, we're blessed by you. We're blessed by you. And I want to thank you for what you're doing. And I just want you just at the top of this segment, just to tell us the who, the what, the where. But come back tomorrow.
Okay, I got it.
Because I want to go over the other things that you're going to be doing at the fair. But I think that walking through your cancer journey is very important because it's empowering for people who don't feel they have the space to talk about that, particularly men.
And I want people to think about this when they're faced with this, because that's the whole testimony of it. I am not sharing what I've heard or what I've read. I'm sharing what I've lived. And that there's no stronger way for you to give testimony to something than to share what you've lived.
Tell me your number, because Ricardo said he's had his MRI. He needs to go through the biopsy because his PSA was very high. He's getting ready to go to work.
I'll take my cell and have him call my cell at 773-551-8141.
773.
Yep.
551.
8141.
Ricardo, call him. Okay, just give him like 2 minutes.
Ricardo in touch. I'll put him in touch with Dr. Arnold Turner at Providence. Okay,
call him, Ricardo. Just give him 2 minutes because I'm going to bring him on. Well, call him at 7:06. So let me get him off of here. Well, I just have to getting the show moving. But what I want to do is bring you back on tomorrow if you don't mind. Care of it. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll be here.
Okay, and that way we can talk about. And Dr. Knighton, you still there?
I am still here.
Would you mind staying a little later tomorrow with us? In fact, let me connect you all by text right now. It's not going to be long on a lot of ceremony. Okay. But I want you all, she is someone who we need in our space. Commissioner Lowry, we need her.
Well, I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I can't wait to connect you with the folks that we have at the Cook County Department of Public Health, Doctor.
Yeah, look, she's one of the top in the world at what she does, and please, she needs to be working with us. How about that?
I love it. So I love it.
I'm going to give you her mobile. And
I just gave you my cell. Give that doctor, take my cell as well, please.
I'm going to give that to you right now. Okay. And I'm connecting you all by text. Okay.
Wonderful.
because and Ricardo, I want you to call him after 7:06 because you should be okay. Okay. And you're gonna be just fine. You're gonna be in great shape, Ricardo, because he can help to fight for you and he will do that. So I've
I will
connected
do
you
that.
and Dr. Knighton, but you should not be having night sweats with high PSAs trying to figure out how you can get your biopsy. That's ridiculous. See, that's the stress,
It is.
Commissioner Lowry. I mean,
I think even too, just from
Yeah.
mentioning like just with the primary care provider, you
Hi, Ms. Jackson.
firm belief.
We have on Attorney Hoffler, Dwight McKee, Attorney Jones, Reverend Dr. Yuri, and Attorney Fancher.
Effects of it. So
I need one more line to get Kevin Lampy.
Well, you know what, Dr. Knighton and Commissioner Lowry will be gone right after we do this quick introduction.
Okay,
But
perfect. I can call him up then.
I need the commissioner to punch up this event tomorrow because I've gotten a tremendous response, and I know this is hard for a lot of our men to talk about, to be vulnerable. I get it. I really do. I'm not a man, clearly, but I get it. I know how I'm watching my father struggle with Parkinson's, and I have to remind him, you are taller to me
2 minutes.
in your wheelchair than you have ever stood in your life. I said, I don't need you to be on your feet. I need you to be on your prayer. I need you to, because you've
and we all feel that way, Santita. We feel that way. We feel that way with Reverend.
But as a man, as a former Big Ten athlete, to not have full command of his physicality is very hard for him. And I'm putting it out there. So he's always trying to stand. I tell when we're out somewhere, I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to learn to sit here, and you're going to learn to be still and let people come to you.
I love it.
This is what you're going to do. Not to mention the fact that his healthcare, the on-site healthcare provider, I said, if you fall, he's liable. But that is psychologically, I don't need you to do that. And I'm not just saying for Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm talking about for your daddy, your uncle, your partner.
That's it. Right.
Whatever.
For all of us. Right.
That's right. All these men who have held us up all of our lives. If they have to sit, let them sit. Then you stand for them. But they have stood for you, and they're still standing tall for you. And you let them know that. Don't let someone take their manhood from them. Shaft had breast cancer. You need to be doing breast exams. All of that. That is why I'm having you open this segment. It'll be for a couple of minutes, and that's why I'm having you back on tomorrow, along with Dr. Knighton, because we're going to do this.
Okay.
Thank you, TJ. Whether we agree or disagree, I think we can agree on that, sweetie. But I'm
back in 30.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I just, and I really admire what you're doing, and I want to thank you for this. So let's.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's wonderful meeting you, Doctor.
Well, thank Mary.
Likewise.
Mary commandeered me at a reception at the caucus. She said he wants to be on the show.
That's amazing. I just love hearing the story. And when you mentioned prostate cancer, it definitely ran rampant.
Stand by.
To my husband's dad, his dad, for generationally. So you're right. I was on top of it.
Change the world. Change the world. We can change the world. We can change the world. Change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love. It's not too late. Gotta save the children. We can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. It's Wednesday, September 27, 2023. WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. My morning stars are on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please get over there tomorrow morning as we go to these headlines, as we talk about the UAW strike and what that means. I mean, there's someone, of course, Legal Q&A with C.K. Hoffler. She has been working with Chris Smalls from Amazon in his fight to unionize and in his fight to protect workers. We're seeing what we're moving into Striketober. We're going to be talking about that shortly. But I want to find out from you if you're going to be able to get over to this fair, this free men's health fair. Black men have the worst health outcomes of any group in the United States. You live at least 7 years fewer than white men. And it's preventable. It's preventable. Commissioner Bill Lowry from the County of Cook here in Illinois. Look, wherever you live, reach out to, I don't care whether you live in Cook County or not, reach out to Commissioner Bill Lowry because this ought to be a national movement to save the lives of our citizens. And we can do that, everybody. Before we go into the headlines, my top headline is this Black Men's Health Fair tomorrow from 5 to 8 at 64th and Dorchester, 63rd and Dorchester, the Apostolic Church of God. All of us in Chicago know the Apostolic Church of God. Sending you much love, Dr. Byron Brazier, Karen Yarborough, our Cook County clerk. These are people you're working with, Cook County Commissioner Bill Lowry, to put on this fair. You're going to be talking about suicide, mental health, dental health. Many of us, your dental health, there's a direct tie between your dental health and your overall physical health, and on and on and on. What's this fair, and how is it free? What can we do?
Well, it is free. Absolutely, it's free. And I want everyone in the community to come. And while it's my third annual Men's Health Fair, I want our sisters there as well, because so often it's our sisters who keep us brothers healthy and making sure that we're doing what we need to do so that we can eat right and exercise and do some of those things. So I'm going to have my Men's Health Fair tomorrow. It will be at Apostolic Church of God, 6320 South Dorchester, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. I'm going to have 45 different healthcare partners who will be there providing services and information to our community, health screenings, fitness training sessions, mental health services, dental care resources, a property after death forum, blood drive, furniture giveaway, COVID vaccination information, and of course, we're going to talk about prostate cancer awareness. As a prostate cancer survivor, I'll be talking about my road, but more importantly, sharing with all the brothers there that if you have to go down this road, it's going to be okay. But it's going to be okay because knowledge is power, and we're going to make sure you have knowledge. And it's going to be okay because early detection is key. And I'm going to give you the 4 steps that you need so you can have early detection if you have prostate cancer.
He'll be back on tomorrow morning at 6:30. So, Ricardo, call him right now. I'm about to let the commissioner go. He said that he wanted you to call him so that you can get this biopsy, because he said that his PSA count is not just high. He said it's very high. So he has the stress right now of he's trying to fight through insurance and the hospital to get the biopsy. That should not be. His PSA count is high. He said it's very high. So what number should he call? As soon as you get off the phone?
Ricardo's already called me, Santita, so I'm going to call him. I'm going to call my brother right back, and we're going to get him. We're going to get him set up so he can go to Providence and see Dr. Arnold Turner and get everything he needs. We're going to take good care of him.
All right, Ricardo Mendoza, sending you much love, sweetie. You got to let us know how you're doing. But if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But consider talking about it because you're going to help somebody else. Look at what this
knowledge is power.
Knowledge is
and
power.
No man should die from prostate cancer. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to go. But no man should die from prostate cancer.
Or heart disease, or depression, or dental disease. Amen. All these things that you'll be talking about tomorrow.
Yes.
You don't have to die 7 years younger. You don't have to live 7 fewer years than anybody. You don't have to.
That's right. So thank you, sister. I love you.
I love you. See you in the morning. You and Dr. Knighton.
Okay.
Sending you much love. All right. Let's get to some of these. Oh, I love you. Can't wait to be with you in the morning. Give Cheryl my love and the 3 babies. We're now grown people. That's right. We're getting old. Hey, everybody. Some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. A New York judge found that Donald Trump committed fraud for a decade. The former president and his company inflated his net worth in New York, where the Trump Organization is headquartered, according to a judge's ruling yesterday. His company will no longer be able to do business in the state. He doesn't face prison time in this $250 million civil suit, but he does in 4 criminal cases. The Senate moves forward on a deal to avert a government shutdown. This deal would fund the government for 6 weeks without additional funding. The government will shut down on Sunday. The bill must clear the Senate, however, and then come back to the House. We're going to see what's going to happen, everybody. A fire at an Iraqi wedding killed at least 100 people. May God bless them all. The U.S. and 17 states filed a major lawsuit against Amazon yesterday. The company is an illegal monopoly that drives up prices for Americans to increase its power, according to the FTC. I always wondered why it is I can't find a lot of products on the shells in the stores. But that was just, I said, well, maybe it's just me. And, I don't know. So in Chicago, we're going to have showers today. 65 degrees will be the high. In Minneapolis, St. Paul, 69 degrees and cloudy. The NFL had a night off. Major League Baseball, the Twins 11, the A's 3, Atlanta 7, the Cubs 6, the Diamondbacks 15, and the White Sox 4. In the WNBA playoffs, the Liberty 84, the Sun 77, the Aces 91, and the Wings 84. And those are the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. President Biden made history yesterday. C.K. Hoffler, Legal Q&A with C.K. He made history by joining a picket line, everybody. This has never happened in the history of the Republic, where a president who has said, I'm the most pro-union president ever, well, he put his feet and body where his mouth and rhetoric have been. He went on the picket line and he said, you deserve more. You deserve more. You need to make more money. You need to enjoy the profits that everybody else has been able to enjoy. So let's talk about that, everybody. How will this play out? And what are the rights? What are the rights of workers, really? What are the rights? I mean, because you've been working with Chris Smalls of Amazon, and you deal with these kinds of issues all the time, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. And now we're going into Striketober. I mean, we're now beginning to see a lot of workers rise up. They're just saying, you know what? I'm not being paid enough. You saw these workers in the automotive industry. They saved the industry. In 2008, they were broke. So they said, okay, they negotiated with the big three and they said, okay, we will give up our cost of living increases and our pension plans. We'll suspend payments into them, your payments that you're supposed to make, so that we can save the companies. Okay, but once the companies are back on your feet, we go back to where we were. Well, the companies got back on their feet. They jacked up the prices of cars by 30%. The CEOs and the C-suite players got increases in salaries and bonuses of 40%, but they got 6% and did not return those cost of living increases and the payments into their pension system. So they have said a strike. Talk to me. You have got a tremendous panel who can talk about this today. And I just want to know I want to know what you think, Attorney C.K. Hoffler. And we have got Attorney Darrell Jones. We've got Dwight McKee. We've got Attorney Mark Fancher, who is up in Detroit with these workers. We have got Reverend Dr. Todd Geary. We've got Kevin Lampy, of course, here in Chicago, brilliant political strategist. First of all, your thoughts, just given your work in this space with, for workers' rights. Legal Q&A with C.K. Hoffler.
Well, good morning, Santita. What an amazing panel. And I have to tell you, this is something that we're all passionate about. Your father laid the blueprint for us many, many years ago for many of us who have been concerned about workers' rights. And so people say, what are workers' rights? What are they entitled to? Well, they should be fairly compensated, adequately compensated for the work that they do. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, which is a union town, and where we saw the decimation of the Black middle class once those plants closed, and vibrant Black communities that were really, really decimated because people lost their jobs and didn't have the ability to transition to other jobs because those other jobs weren't available. So workers are at the core, as we know, this country. President Biden took, yes, it was unprecedented. Yes, it was historic. But yes, he did put his money where his mouth is. And it is important for us to support workers. What are their rights? They should be live and work in an environment that is free of discrimination of different sorts, and there should not be hostile work environments. They should be entitled to fair wages for the work that they do. I mean, there's some fundamental things in terms of workers' rights that are critical. We know during COVID, this is the litigation that Chris Smalls had, that a lot of these companies did not put in place appropriate policies to address COVID. And many of the workers were very sick or were dying because there were not proper protocols to address COVID. That is a workplace condition problem that the unions have taken a strong position on. And the unions, there's some companies, of course, like Amazon at the time, that are not union companies. And so the workers' rights are very compromised because basically the corporate or the management can take positions against the workers, and there really is very little recourse other than individual suits. That's why it is important to have unions. It is important to have unions that represent workers. And I'm not saying the unions are perfect, but it certainly is important to have advocates on behalf of the workers. So the fact that President Biden has done this, I mean, critics are saying, well, he did it for political reasons. Well, even before he was president, he took positions that were very pro workers. He is on record. This is one thing where his record is strong. So even though there are people that criticize him and say, well, this is just because this is part of his presidential, campaign where he's doing things for photo ops and things like this. This is not necessarily the most popular thing for him to do.
But
because a lot of people feel that he shouldn't have done it. It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do, but it is also political. And so what? This shows your power. Because when you can push someone who might be anti-union, which he has not been, you can push someone who is all the way on the other side into your camp because of your political activity. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you can't have it both ways, CK.
No, my view of the world is on this one, we all have our views on what President Biden has done, hasn't done. But on this one, to me, he is on the right side of the issue. He should have done this. I applaud him. He didn't have to go this far.
Right.
He really didn't. But he did. And I'm glad he did because it sends a signal to the world that working people must be protected. And that is, in fact, I'm a plaintiff's lawyer. So the people that I represent are injured people, are working people who have workplace issues because that's part of my practice area. And it makes it very difficult when on a federal level or on a state level, but certainly on a federal level, there's not support for workers. There are laws that are not strong enough. So when a president comes out like this, that speaks more volumes than so much more that could be done.
But you know what?
I applaud the president for doing this. And I'd like to see him do this on some other things.
I do too. Let's be very clear. Let's not misunderstand. I am not attacking the president. What I'm doing is lifting up the people, CK. Because no matter where the president is, first of all, you forced Donald Trump to announce that he was going before the president did. Such is the strength of the support for this, for these actions. People power matters, CK.
Of course it does. Of course it does. And we're not going to deny it's political. Political or not, it's a great thing to do. Sometimes when you act and most are political. But what I'm saying in this instance, his record reflected that this was actually something that it wasn't a newfound position that he took. It's a well-supported position by his actions in the past and his record.
Agreed.
So that's why I applaud him. And I think he needs to do this on other things. Let's not stop here.
But he will not stop. He will continue to go on if people push. That's my only point. Politicians respond to the push from the people. You can't not push. You gotta push, everybody. But CK, you see who else is on the panel. We only have about 7 or 8 minutes left here. But
well,
go for
I'd
it.
love to hear from Mark Sampson. When we have a great panelist who's brilliant, who is in Michigan, who's there in Detroit, want to hear from you. What's happening on the ground, Mark? I'm Attorney Sancher in terms of the people in Michigan, in Detroit in particular.
Well, I think that as might be expected from the reactions around the country, there is general broad-based support here for the strikers. When there are people who are passing picket lines, they're honking their horns and raising their fists. And so I think that President Biden appearing was something that was welcomed as well. But the thing that I want to encourage all of us to do is to, become very analytical about the circumstances that caused him to go before the world and to make the announcement or to present the face that he's presenting. In the early 20th century, when the union movement was really getting its traction, when the international work world, the Wobblies, were engaged in their struggles with management, they were very clear about the fact that there was this class struggle, there was this class conflict that was going on. And in doing that, it wasn't anything negative that they were doing. They were simply acknowledging the truth. The capitalist system is designed to have class stratification, division between workers, bosses, and owners, management, that type of thing. And their objective was to take control of the means of production. And ultimately, many of them wanted to just eliminate the capitalist system altogether. This was a very militant kind of a movement, a very radical kind of a movement that was attacked on many levels systematically over a period of time, until eventually organized labor was persuaded to become what they perceived and what many perceived as essentially partners with management. There was an agreement, implicit if not explicit, that they would no longer try and seize the means of production, but that they would work together in order to build these enterprises. That was the rhetoric, but it was not always the reality, because underneath the surface, this war, this class conflict was still going on. And it was to the detriment of the workers many times. And I think that we see the results of that in what prompted the current strike, in terms of management always lining its own pockets, always exploiting situations and getting lots of money for themselves, and leaving the workers to wallow in in their current condition, or in some cases for them to go in the opposite direction. So I think that what we may be seeing is a return to the same dynamic that prompted the forces to come forward and to create this illusory partnership between workers and management. The Democratic Party is a capitalist party. Its objective is to preserve the capitalist system and to preserve order and stability within the capitalist system. I can't know what individually Joseph Biden was thinking or what's in his heart. He may have had the best of intentions, but the role that he is playing right now is to pacify what is the emergence, an emerging militant kind of a movement. We have not seen this level of organized worker resistance in quite some time, whether it's the writers and who've been on strike, whether it's all the way down to workers in fast food restaurants and students and professors who are also organizing. That's not a good thing. For them to become militant, for them to continue to organize in the way that they have, that's exclusively in their interest and not in the interest of management and the bosses. And so to the extent that him coming forward helps to sort of calm things down and attempts to try to cause the workers to again see themselves as merely out there for the same things that they've always been out there for, just a little bit more money, better working conditions, as opposed to having a different vision for the economic paradigm in this country, which gives workers a real stake, a real sense, and a real ownership of the means of production and the wealth. That's something that they don't want to see happen, and that's a role that Biden plays by doing this and keeping us in the same paradigm that we've been in for many decades now.
I appreciate definitely what you're saying. I think there are some that would say that he may not be trying to pacify them because he's encouraging them. He's telling them, you go ahead, you continue, you do what you have to do. And so there's some on this issue that don't believe that he's pacifying folks, but I'd love to hear what Dwight McKee has to say about this. Our visionary social scientist, Dwight McKee.
2 minutes before break.
Yeah, hey. Hi, Lawyer. I want to distinguish between the two strikes, between the writer strike and the actor strike, the auto strike. The actor strike is a negotiation where they're trying to get, better bang for the buck and trying to get more of a return on their investment. The auto strike is a repayment of a debt. They owe these people. This is money that they owe these people because they cut a deal with them. And if they were to reduce their benefits and reduce, their labor costs, then that they could utilize that to save the country, the company. And when the company was saved and the money was restored, they never did restore the debt, the money, the benefits, and the assets that they had borrowed to stabilize the country. In fact, what they did is management took all of the successes and ran with them and left the workers who had saved the country high and dry. And so what you're looking at now is a real repayment of a debt because they actually saved. I think they believe that part of the negotiation should be equity in the company, that the workers should own much of the company because they are the ones responsible for not just creating the country, but actually saving the country.
Stay right there.
So you can go.
Dwight, wait, you hear the music. We got to go to break. But everybody, Legal Q&A with CK, we're talking about this UAW strike. And it's Striketober, everybody. We're on the verge of a lot of strikes. And workers are really pushing CK for their rights. But you know, Dwight, of course, you knew what to do, Attorney CK Hoffler. Gave us the correction. This strike that you see with the big three auto workers, with the UAW, it's a repayment of a debt. They saved the auto industry. They gave up their cost of living increases. They gave up payments from the auto industry into their pension funds. They were supposed to be repaid. That never happened. They're like, give us our money back. C-suite got 40% in raises and profits. Cars went up 30%. They got a 6% pay hike, and they didn't get their money back. CK, back and forth the Santita Jackson Show. Legal Q&A with CK just a minute. Okay, everybody. When you all hear the music, we're trying to get out because I've got a couple of other stations. So, but CK, you know we're on the stream right now, so everybody can talk back and forth. And did you get the text I sent you?
I am looking at it right now. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Santita, this is why I became a plaintiff's lawyer. This really is why most of the work I do is plaintiff's work, because this is a good old fashioned breach of contract case. And breach of contract is another way of saying I said I was going to do something, whether it's with a handshake, in writing. And I said that if you all did this, I would do that. And I reneged on it. And that's what happened. They reneged. And now we're seeing some flat out lies, in my impression, surrounding what the deal was. So you can call it a breach of contract. You can call it a misrepresentation. Some people call it civil theft. But whatever you call it, it's one of the reasons why I became a plaintiff's lawyer. Because if no one is there, unions are there to fight and protect the workers. That's why the unions are there. But sometimes the unions, even though they are working in that direction, need additional support in fighting and protecting the workers, because the unions may only be able to go so far. And so I think this is going to be one of those classic cases. All I can say is, I think that these companies' management better wake up and smell this coffee.
Well, wait a minute. Does that happen here? Do you think that's what's happened here? Do you think that the UAW has needed like public support, extra help in order to move the needle on this?
Absolutely. It does help that in the court of public opinion, people.
Okay, CK, you need to come a little closer because it sounds like you're in a tunnel. Okay.
I'm sorry. It does help if in the court of public opinion, whether it's for political reasons or not, inspired, whatever it is, people are saying this isn't right. They were supposed to do this because it's old-fashioned, rope-a-dope. You said you're going to do this if I did that, and I did it, but you didn't do it. I mean, everybody can understand that. You don't really have to be in any particular industry to understand if you have a handshake or if you have a contract or a deal or an agreement to do something that you give up so that somebody else can live or survive, and you do that, and in return they're supposed to do something and they don't do that, That's a problem. And that's what this is. It has to be broken down into those kinds of discussions. Because when it's broken down those kind of discussions, everybody can understand. So the court of public opinion is very, very important on this. The unions do need help. They do need the support. They did need the president to come and do what he's doing.
Well,
That is making a difference.
Well, Kevin Triplett wants to thank you, Attorney Fancher, he said, for providing a clear class analysis. He continues, the simple fact is that there is always, his emphasis, a struggle over the rate of exploitation. You do see things through that lens, and I want to thank you for that. CK, who else do you have queued up to speak?
We've got Daryl Jones, Kevin Lampy, and Reverend Todd Urey.
Dwight, were you able to finish your analysis? Dwight?
Back in 30.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think probably.
Well, see, hold on, Robert. Excuse me, Dwight. We're going to be up in 20 seconds. CK, why don't you let Dwight finish his thought, and then you move on to however you want to do this. Okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to go from Dwight to Daryl Jones. And then I'll go to Reverend Todd Urey and then end with Kevin Lampy.
Yes, so Kevin can give us the political, help us to see what we're seeing politically. Because also, Kevin, we've got the debate tonight.
Stand by.
So we need you to give us a preview of that too, how all this fits in.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Hope that you will attend that free Black Men's Health Fair at Apostolic Church of God tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. sponsored by Cook County Commissioner Bill Lowry. Ricardo was able to get some help from Commissioner Lowry. You're going to be able to get that biopsy. I know you'll be able to get it soon. Thank God for that. And right now we're talking about the UAW strike and CK, legal Q&A with CK. Number one, when are you going to be back on Court TV? Are you touching any of this?
Sometimes I do touch some of these political issues if there's a case that's filed.
Okay.
Because if there's a case that's filed, for instance, I've discussed, the indictments of the former president. I've discussed a lot of cases because a case was filed, a court appearance, and it's late breaking news, and Court TV is covering it, and it happens to be when I'm on, and I talk about it. So I do cover a lot of these issues, but it sort of depends on what's happening in the day, on the course of the day, and what Court TV is covering. So I can't plan it, but when it comes up, you best believe that I do make sure that all sides of the issue are presented, or a side of the issue that may not be traditionally presented is presented. So that's important.
Well, CK, legal Q&A with CK, of course, every Wednesday from 7 to 8 Central Standard Time, 8 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. We've got the Republican debate tonight. We have Trump and former President Trump and President Biden. President Biden made history yesterday, the first time that an American president went on a union picket line. Of course, contextualizing this was Attorney Mark Fancher, giving us clear, concise, historical and class analysis. And that is fantastic. Of course, Dwight McKee, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, was in the middle of the analysis. I'm glad that C.K. helped us to see, wait a minute, they're repaying a debt. C.K.?
Yeah, absolutely. And Dwight, thank you for the distinctions. We wanted to continue to hear your analysis because I don't think you finished.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think part of the negotiation is that they should have equity in the country, in the company. You call it communism, call it socialism, call it anything you want. But the fact of the matter is, they save the country. They're responsible for the wealth of the company. They should own a percentage of the company, the unions themselves, so that they can be the benefactors of the wealth that they created. The other part of this discussion about the 32-hour work week, people should understand that Henry Ford started the 40-hour work week. Those same workers, that's not in the Bible. That's arbitrary. It was a decision he made that he would do a 40-hour work week 100 years ago. That's one of the 10 Commandments. And so, of course, that's negotiable.
Wait a minute. Did we say the Ten Commandments? I just want to make sure.
What is
Did
this
we say
man
the Ten
talking about?
Commandments? Dwight McKee, did you say the Ten? I'm sorry. I just had to. Okay. So what were you saying? I'm sorry. We interrupted. Thank you.
He didn't work 40 hours a week. That ain't the commandments. That's arbitrary. Henry Ford decided that. And so if he decided it could be 40 hours, they can decide it should be 30 or 25.
Okay, CK. Honey, I'm sitting back.
So what you're saying is, when it says "thou shalt not kill," it wasn't also "thou shalt work."
Okay, CK coming a little closer. Okay.
Okay. All right. So I was just being silly about the Ten Commandments, just another commandment in the Ten Commandments. But Bill Jones, you're in the DMV, and this is something that is really, really occupying airwaves, and a lot of political discussion on the Hill about this. What are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Well, a couple of things. Thanks for that, CK, and good morning, Santita. A couple of things. I think that one of the analysis that Dwight McKee laid out, the comparison, really does bring it into clear vision as to what's going on with the UAW strike. I mean, when you compare it to the other strike, with the Writers Guild strike, where they're really trying to continue to earn what's theirs and build back up. The UAW is one where this is a debt that was owed. But then when you start to do that analysis, and I just began to wonder that when the UAW during the 2008 and so period of the downturn in the economy and dealing with the auto industry, when they were giving up their interests that they had already fought for, had they negotiated when things got better, that they would be in a particular position, that there would be the side of the negotiation when once they got over the other side of the mountain. So that's one of the questions that sort of fits with me with regards to the union side of that negotiation. It doesn't, obviously take away from what I believe that they're owed as a result of them not getting it. But I just wonder if it was something that they had negotiated in advance and it didn't come into fruition, or if it was something that was left out of that negotiation piece. So that's one of the things that I wonder about. But I tell you, in looking at this in whole, and holistically, President Biden certainly has put himself in a position where it appears to me to be a very winning position, because he's on the side of the everyday guy, he's on the side of the worker, he's on the side of the person that gave up so that the company could thrive and exist down the road, and now the company appears to have turned its back on the worker, and he's standing with that middle class worker. That's what he's always been. That's always been his sweet spot. That's always been where his interests have lied. So this really seems to play right into that. There's an analysis that goes on with regards to the former president planning to go to Michigan prior to President Biden to a non-union shop. I'm not real clear on how that plays out, what sense that makes to go to a non-union place to talk about union issues. But what is clear is that President Biden is very clear focused on what he's doing, where he is. There is some discrepancy with him bringing in a labor secretary, not bringing in a labor secretary. It might in some way compromise his position to try to be able to mediate, moderate any type of conversation, since he has tipped his hand to show that he's in favor of the union workers. So there may be some problems that potentially exist there. But I don't think it's nothing that cannot be overcome. I think the question now is, will they be able to reach the agreement, and then Biden and the Democrats be able to market the agreement that's reached?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that for once we just, I again, there are always two sides to every story. Everything's politically driven, but I think we need to applaud the president for doing this, for taking that step. I just want to push him to do it on other issues. So Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, you're also in the DMV. The faith community, you're a lawyer, you're a minister, a Baptist minister, and a great thinker. What do you think about this? And what is the faith community saying about these labor? Are they involved in some of these labor discussions? We know Reverend Jackson would lead these types of discussions and always played a role. So what is the faith community saying?
Well, good morning, CK, Santita, and my colleagues. I've been listening intently to all of the sentiments that have been shared. The faith community, in many of these congregations, you actually have retired auto workers. I think I would start with kind of the reset. NAFTA, ratified under Clinton, but introduced by Bush 41, led to a shift of what we saw in urban settings like Baltimore City. In 1992, the largest employer in Baltimore City was Bethlehem Steel. We can see the correlation between the need for steel and supporting manufacturing. The largest employer in Baltimore City today is Johns Hopkins. The whole economic underpinning shifted. And throughout this period, with displacement and realignment, with the offshoring of factories and jobs, the increase in what we would often call trade deficits, you actually saw the real-time, real-life impact of urban enclaves begin to shift, and communities that had been supported and sustained. If you think about Black communities in particular, many of those jobs were either in the public sector with good government jobs or in factories where folks could get a pension and be able to take care of themselves and their families. And so we've got that frame when we look at this, and the recognition that the president really had a public duty to show up for the workers, because we need to remember there was $18 billion that was infused into GM and Chrysler, particularly during the bailout. And so for the president not to go would be as political as for the president to go. And so we gotta kind of frame it in a sense that this is not just some media spectacle in a lot of ways. It is also a necessary policy interest. When we look at the number of jobs that have been impacted over the years by the movements of these companies, and the recognition that when we have these kinds of interest and issues, the negotiation, you hear the disparities between what the executives get paid versus what the workers get paid. I agree with Dwight. There is an 11th commandment. Thou shalt not exploit your workers. It's in there. You just got to look at it. Moses, as the first biblical character, started a labor movement. He said, we walking off the job because we don't have the working conditions. And there was an interest for the workers that actually came from on high. So if I'm preaching, we're going to put it in context, then let's just look at it. Because at the end of the day, the book says, either give me the resources I need and the work being worthy of their hire, right out of the book, or let my people go. You can't have it both ways. And so I think it's necessary for the president to really kind of frame the moral urgency, even if it comes at some political peril or political self-interest. For folks at ground level, in the pews, in the community, they don't care one way or the other. But when you start hearing the just offensive amounts of money that executives get paid, with no one really having clarity on what the executives actually do, at the expense of the workers who have to work in almost sweatshop conditions with the hostility that often comes from microaggressions and attempts to bust unions and lose the ability for collective bargaining. We cannot lose sight of the fact that this is really a moral issue. You mentioned Reverend Jackson. He would put us clear. He would set us straight on what the moral imperative of this moment is, and would say that it's unfortunate that Joe Biden is the first president to have to get into a labor management issue. It should happen before now, and I think he has to lean into it. Otherwise, it's going to have implications not only for local communities, but the U.S. economy, and it's also going to have implications for other industries that are watching this, who have their own collective bargaining agreements, some of them at municipal levels. They're going to start coming up, and folks are looking at what's going to be in the fine print. Thou shalt not exploit thy workers. Otherwise, we out of here.
All right. That 11th commandment. I love it. I love it. Now we haven't heard from Kevin Lampy, and I'd like Kevin, if you could put it into go further with the political context. You've got debates coming up. How do you think this issue is going to be addressed and raised? And what do you think in terms of this country? Take it outside of the Michigan, outside of the local, outside of even the union towns, just in the country, rural areas, how people are reacting to this issue.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with and to be a part of this panel this morning. It is this, excuse me, working people, working families need to know that the president has their back and to take the risk that is necessary to support the rights and the ability to speak out in the workplace, the willingness and the right to organize, the right to air your grievances and have your grievances understood, but also the right to a fair wage that's consistent and not at a corporate CEOs, corporate C-suite people are getting hundreds of the dollars to the $1 that they're getting paid by these corporations, and the workers, who without them, they wouldn't be making this money. They need to understand that we're all in this together, and it is. We're going to keep the biblical references going. It is sinful, the amount of money that these corporate CEOs are making compared to the workers who are producing the product and services that they are supplying. Politically, what this does is this continues to show that Joe Biden is the most pro-union president this country has ever seen. And that is hopefully, one of the things I thought was interesting about the speeches yesterday was how the UAW president was able to talk about this isn't just about us. This is about the baristas at Starbucks. This is about the healthcare workers. This is about the truck drivers. This is about every other worker that's yearning to be organized and yearning to participate in the collective bargaining process. This is what Joe Biden is standing up for. And I found it incredibly effective. And I thought, I want to say one thing about the stagecraft yesterday. The stagecraft, which you're always looking at, and all of us are trying to build, he stood on pallets, pallets that the goods are delivered on. He didn't stand on a stage. He stood on the foundation of workers' rights, and that is what was most powerful about the statements from yesterday.
Well, then, but where do we go from here, Kevin? I mean, if I may jump in here, CK. I mean, because we've got former President Trump coming. We've got the debate tonight. We've got other strikes that are looming. What's next? What's next for President Biden? I mean, what's next on this political landscape? Because Republican, Democrat, because these are the Reagan Democrats, right? These are folks who, more and more people are disaffected with both parties. And as Dwight McKee stated, they need their money back. They said, we'll save the companies. Oh yeah, we're all in because we need each other to survive. They need to get their money back. What's next?
Absolutely. And Joe Biden is speaking for the American public that invested in these companies when they needed, not just invested, we bailed them out. And that shows that as president, he's protecting what taxpayers did in order to protect these companies. And I think
say that one more time. Say that one more time, because I don't know if taxpayers know how much we through the unions did to save these companies. Please say that again, Kevin.
So we spent billions to bail out the auto companies. And we as the taxpayers invested in those companies because we knew that without these corporations, without the manufacture of automobiles, that would devastate our economy. And we came together in order to say, you know what, we believe in these workers. We believe in the product they're producing. We believe in American-made vehicles. Let us protect this part of our economy. And we came in and did it. And now the corporate executives say, they completely forgotten about that. Their attention span is always as long as it takes for them to review their stock portfolio. It is time for, Americans have stood up and stood with the American automobile industry. And now it's time for the president, as our representative, to stand up for the workers. And I think what it changes in the political landscape is if at this point out the huge difference between Trump and the rest of the MAGA Republicans, where Trump spent his 4 years trying to destroy the labor movement through his appointments to the National Labor Relations Board, through his, and he's talking about, how that he's better, he's better for blue collar workers. Well, he's proving that by going to a non-union shop. That's just not how you prove it. He should be walking a picket line and hearing what those people are saying. But you know what? That's not what he's interested in. He is interested in standing a bunch of people who are going to adore him for keeping down other parts of society that they think aren't worthy to be Americans. And Donald Trump is continuing to prove the fact that he would take this country down a path of death and damnation. And we need to rally and to stand up for the working people, the working families, and we need to make a difference, and we need to show up at the polls. Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
I think Biden has.
I've got 2 minutes.
I think Biden has decided whether he's going to be Moses or Pharaoh in these fights. It's a double message when you come and walk with the auto workers on the picket line at one level. Then you bring in 500,000 undocumented migrants and then give them work visas. So then they can come and undermine the union so that they become a new labor force, cheap labor force, at the expense of the working people. Because now you really pit a poor people coming in looking for stability, who's forced to work at minimum. Most of them going to be forced to work at minimum prices, minimum cost, and they will be played against the existing unions who are now negotiating real livable wages. So I think Joe Biden has to decide why he fits in this. Is he going to be Pharaoh or is he going to be Moses? Is he going to deliver the people or is he going to really undermine those unions? But you're sending mixed messages.
Kevin, I have 1 minute for you to respond.
Labor unions understand the need for immigration reform. Labor unions have been in the forefront of it. Labor unions also, they realize what's going on in the workplace. Labor unions have very much looked at the emerging populations and then people that are immigrating to this country, and they are quickly embracing and organizing workplaces that feature first generation Americans, first generation immigrants who are coming to our society. I think the labor union movement understands that immigration needs to be fixed in this country, but also understands the fact that these workers, as they enter the economy, need to be organized. And the Republicans stand in the way of organizing.
CK, everyone on the panel, I want to get some closing thoughts from you on the other side. But CK, we got 1 minute. How would you wrap this up on the air? Of course, stay on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel so that we can hear from you, attorneys Yeary and Fancher and Jones and Dwight McKee and Kevin Lampe. But CK, wrap this up for us.
I think this is a great day for labor. It's a great day for the president doing, whether he did it because for political reasons, duty, or because it's the right thing to do. It's a great thing that it happened, that he stood with the workers on the picket line, not just saying I support you, but stood with them on the picket line. Well, my hope is that this president will also stand with the workers and with the people on other issues, voting rights, other civil rights issues. And there will be a reconciliation of the immigration concerns that Dwight McKee pointed out. There needs to be a reconciliation of those issues because it can't happen. He's the president, so he can reconcile those issues.
Absolutely.
And I think he can do both, but there has to be reconciliation.
Well, I tell you what, the reason I say it's all political is because it is. It doesn't matter. I'm not attacking anyone's intentions and what's in someone's heart. That is not my point. My point is your power. I believe in people power. People have the power. Mark Fancher, Attorney Jones, Attorney Yeary, Kevin Lampe, Dwight McKee, Attorney Hoffler. to move the needle. What all of these politicians are responding to, they're responding to you. At least 75% of the American public are standing with these workers, and they know that they must stand with these workers if they want to have a prayer of getting your vote. That does not mean that historically President Biden has supported unions. He has. It doesn't mean that Trump has not. I tell you what, on this day, they're standing with the unions. On this day, they're standing with you. You need to continue to apply pressure to make them do for you what you need. You might not get who you want, but you must always get what you need in politics. That's the nature of the beast. Stop falling in love. Make these people fall in line with you. This ain't a love game. No. Make the politicians, these elected officials who work for you, make them do it. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow. I'm going to watch this Republican debate. I hope that you will too, because we need to talk about that. And all of the above. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. But stay right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Go to Court TV and check out Attorney C.K. Hoffler. And on WAOK, where she and Robert Patillo have radio shows. WOL, where Attorney Daryl Jones has his radio show with Attorney Barbara Arnwine. I love you, everybody. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow. But stay right here. We're not done yet. Love you. Thank you, Henry, for a great show. Has there been, Attorney Jones, is there anything that was left unsaid in your mind?
No, I think that most of it was covered. I feel good.
Okay, you feel, okay. Reverend Dr. Yeary?
Yeah, well, no, I think the focus is rightly placed that whenever there is a standing with the people, there's always this interesting pushback that somehow or other that is misplaced or improper. This really is about supporting the U.S. economy, making sure you don't devastate American families and American communities that rely on these plants, these workers, the residuals that flow from them, the businesses they start and support. You cannot detach the union negotiations with these automakers from the overall sustainability and thriving of local communities. And so it would be really, it would be unfortunate and probably just pretty insulting if you didn't see a president under these circumstances lean in this way when back in the mid-2000s, another president had to lean in, and the number was almost $18 billion that was given by way of public offers to stand up and sustain GM and Chrysler. Ford, I think, had enough cash, interestingly enough, let's think about it. An automaker had enough cash in reserve that they didn't take the federal loans, but GM and Chrysler did. The whole thing just kind of reeks of the exploitation of the workers. And so you either pressure them by taking low wages or threatening them with automation to somehow negotiate a deal. And I want to go back to what Madam Chair said. CK said something that was interesting. We sat down and we had an agreement. We made a bargain. That's what collective bargaining is. We made a bargain with you and you reneged on it. And so we're not taking wooden nickels this time. We want to make sure we get everything that we're supposed to get. It's going to be codified and enforceable. And if you violate it, we are going to take you before the National Labor Relations Board for an unfair labor practice if you do anything that deviates from what's going to be on paper, in ink, this time, to make sure that you stay true to what this agreement is going to be.
I mean, Dwight, you made the point that, wait a minute, they are trying to recover the monies they're not negotiating for more. They're like, they'll give us back what we gave you. I mean, I think that gets lost in the sauce here, Dwight.
And that's why I say that they should also have equity that comes out of these negotiations so that they just paid wages. They're paid dividends. Part of the reason that management makes so much money is because they get dividends on the profits. I mean, they may make $30 million in salaries, another $20 million in dividends. The workers should have that option. The good part of the Biden thing is that unlike the other presidents historically, at least he didn't send the army in to break the strike. When you look historically, the union strikes, what the role of the president did was he sent the military in to break the strikes in behalf of the capitalists and industrialists. And Biden now understands that the momentum of the times are on the side of the workers, and he's recognized that. He and Trump have recognized that, and try to put themselves in the front line of that. But like I say, it shouldn't just be political. I like it to be more of a conviction than politics. And right now, which way it goes.
Well, I think that's the point that you've been making, CK and Kevin, that, this is a conviction with President Biden. And I accept that. I guess I'm always wanting, it's part of my tradition to want and push for the people to know that they have power. Even when when LBJ became president was that everything that people have been pushing for and moving toward under President Kennedy was going to be lost, particularly when it came to civil rights. We lost when it came to the military-industrial complex and war, but we gained with civil rights. But that's because we were also, CK, in these streets, and we were applying so much pressure, and it was a mutual need, right? So my whole thing is, and even though a forgotten aspect of LBJ's history is that when little Mexican children were almost on par with, they were really on par with little Black children in the South, he was a teacher in those schools. Now that's a piece that people don't know about LBJ. For his colorful history and all of that, he did that. I appreciate that. That having been said, I know no March on Washington, no Voting Rights Act, no Civil Rights Act, no fair housing. You better get out here in these streets and make it happen. You got to make these people do what you need them to do, CK. I mean, that's my only point. I can like you and love you and appreciate you, but I know that what did FDR tell A. Philip Randolph? You are right. Y'all are getting lynched. You're living under Jim Crow. I mean, we have been most unfair to you. But go out in these streets and make me do it. That's what he told them to do, CK. He said, go.
Well, and again, Santita, we don't need to stop. This is great. It's a great thing you did, but there are a lot of other issues that the president needs to also stand arm in arm with us on. And so I want to see that continue. I don't care about his motivation. I care about him doing it.
Yeah, I care about him being motivated.
Yes, be motivated. Well, there's nothing more motivating than presidential election, no matter how great, wonderful, good-spirited, intellectually, whatever. And so I would like to see more of this. It shouldn't take a presidential election for the motivation, but it doesn't matter to me why, as long as it's getting done. And this is a show of force, but I do give him credit for practicing what he's preached for a long time. That's the point I was making on that issue. But even when people practice what they preach, they may not practice what they preach until the full length of as far as they can go. And I think he took it there. Yeah. And that surprised me. And I was happy that he did that.
I am too. I've just, I've seen some people who've said, I am with you, but politically right now, this is too hot for me to touch. I've seen all of that. And so I'm just saying people keep applying the pressure. Don't let up. Kevin, what is next?
I was, Santita,
I'm sorry, Mark Fancher.
Take off,
Mark, Mark, please. I didn't realize you were still there. I thought you'd already taken off, but please go. Say what you need to say.
No problem. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I hope that as a society, we're not seduced by smiles. And I think that it makes it easy for us to lose sight of the fact that there is this ongoing class conflict. And not only is there a class conflict, but the capitalists always want capitalism as long as it doesn't affect them negatively. It always affects workers and the poor negatively, but as long as it's not affecting the rich negatively, the powerful negatively, they love it. But when it does, then all of a sudden they want socialism for them and for them alone. When they mismanage companies, when they mismanage industries, then they want to be bailed out, with public money. They don't see that as a need when poor people and working people need assistance because of problems that they're having. And not only do they want to be bailed out, they want to be rewarded. And they make talk about meritocracy and the capitalist system rewarding those who are clever, those who are successful, those who are shrewd business people. But when they are incompetent business people, their version of capitalism is that we still need to be rewarded. We still need to be paid. And the answer to that really is what Dwight was talking about earlier. So if management, the current management, cannot successfully run an industry, they need to go. That's what Adam Smith, the architect of capitalism, said. He said, you rise or fall based on your success or your merit. And so if they're incompetent and they proved that they are, then the workers need to run the company, and they'll run it better. And we are pacified by the rhetoric. We're pacified by smiling politicians' faces. And unfortunately, I think even organized labor falls into the trap. When they see these gestures of goodwill, when they hear the rhetoric about we're all in this together, and so workers do your part, management will do our part, then they lose sight of the fact that in reality, management, the bosses, the owners, they're always trying to undermine and exploit the workers to the extent that they can. And through all of this, as I said, Biden may have, love in his heart. He may be moved by the best of motives, but the role that he's playing is to convince workers once again that a capitalist party, the Democratic Party, is one that can be trusted, one that's safe, and that has the same interests that they have, which is not true.
So, what, in your estimation, what's next? What should be next, Mark?
What should be next, I believe, is for organized labor, UAW in particular, given that they have, a legitimate basis for demanding what's theirs, what's owed to them. And they have a history that allows for them to make a legitimate demand for interest in the company. They need to continue to press for those things. They need to continue, systematically to try and seize the means of production. I think, globally, we need to continue the march towards socialism, which is the only logical and reasonable way for an economy to be organized. And that can happen in many dramatic, sudden kinds of ways, or it can happen incrementally. But that progression toward the end of capitalism and the dawn of an economy where the government ensures that everybody has what they need, that industries are run and controlled by the workers who produce, that's the only reasonable and healthy thing for any society to do. And that's where we need to go.
I heard you respond to that, Dwight.
Oh, I just think Mark is always so right on. He is so right on. I think that's exactly the way we need to go.
What do you mean? You explain.
His critique that smiling faces sometimes are not what they seem to be, that is more pacifying. And it gives you the impression that these guys are more reconciliatory than they actually are. And that is to forego any, I think sometimes, major demands that are institutionally effective. So once you believe that, the president is on your side and that you can win this negotiation, it pacifies you enough not to make the ultimate demands, which is to own part of this company that we have created all the wealth for. And that we deserve wages, we demand wages, but we deserve dividends.
But why don't you think that's part of the negotiation, Dwight? Excuse me. Because that should be part of the negotiation. I don't care what they call it, socialism, communism, all of that. These people privatize their wins and socialize their losses. So I'm done with that. Why isn't that part of the negotiation?
Because they don't control the narrative. Because the people that control the narrative act like that somehow that's just. So when the management leads the company into the hole, their thing is come bail us out because you're doing the country a favor and you're saving the workers. Save us and we'll save the workers. Whereas on the worker side, they don't have the same control of the medium, so they can't create the same kind of narrative. And so for them, it's take the hit. It's, if the company's going bust, then we have to lay you all off. They don't get bailed out like the management gets bailed out. And that's not just in all the industry. That was in the financial services, the financial industry. That's kind of across the board. That's the way capitalism works. Capitalism is just said a little while ago, it's my turn to go bust. You save me. It's a no loss for the capitalist. Save and sacrifice the workers when they go in. Mark explained it a little better, and Mark, you can pick back up on it if you choose to. But I think you hit that right out.
CK?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, we can hear you outside. If you can close the window, I wanted you to have your comment. When are you going to be on Court TV? And before you respond, everyone was moved by Ricardo Mendoza's story this morning, and the Commissioner Bill Lowry, gave him his personal mobile number over the air. He did reach out to him. The commissioner did call him back. He said, "I just want to thank you." He got his call back from the commissioner. And hey, this is the work that we do on this show, and it makes it all worthwhile for me. Let us know now. Follow up, please, so that you can go on and get your the additional medical attention that you need, and let us know if there are any holdups, Ricardo. I guess I'm assuming that your biopsy is next, but there's something beyond that too, since you've had these extremely high PSAs. And I hope that you will go to the men's fair tomorrow. It's not for Black men only. I hope that you will go to the fair tomorrow so that you can meet Commissioner Lowry, and so that you can meet some others and get the help that you need, okay? Love you, sweetie. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, because we hear something in the background.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Santita, I'm driving to a meeting. I apologize.
No, please be careful. Be careful.
I will be careful, but Santita, this conversation has to continue. I'm not impacted and persuaded by smiling faces, just for the record. I'm persuaded.
Wait a minute,
by
you don't
action.
love the undisputed truth? That's what Dwight's reaching back to. Was that the 70s or the 60s?
Now.
Smiling faces sometimes. Oh,
smiling faces sometimes. Yeah, but that don't do nothing for me because I'm a trial lawyer. So if smiling faces did it for me, I couldn't be a trial lawyer. That's number one. But I am persuaded by action. And I think keeping the pressure on the president, as we should, we don't need to stop here. That was a good move. It was a bold move. It was the right thing to do. I really, in this instance, don't care about his motivation because a lot of people aren't motivated by pure thoughts. And I'm more persuaded by action. And I'm also persuaded by what we can do as a result of the action to keep the momentum going. And I want it to be on other issues too, because that shows us that when they want to, when he wants to, the president can show up and show out in support of things that are important. So it's just a question of who is it important to. And there are a lot of African-American workers, a lot of Black and brown workers, mostly Black and brown workers,
and poor
that
white
are impacted by this strike. And poor white ones too. But for those that focus just on our community, there are a lot of us that are impacted by this. So this is going to be a good thing. But, one strong action doesn't make a great leader. But it certainly does go a long way along with some other things. And I think it gives us an indication of how pressure can make a difference, as we know. And this is the latest example. So I think we need to keep the pressure. And Santita, on that note, I must go.
When will you be on Court
It's been a
TV?
great show.
When?
I'm going to be on Court TV today. Let me make sure I get the right
Thank
time.
you. Since you weren't going to tell anybody.
Well, no, because, sometimes, so people don't understand, sometimes the time shifts because I'm a trial lawyer and there's some unpredictable things. And then also on Court TV, they may want me to come on for some late breaking news on a case that I covered. So sometimes I'm on earlier, sometimes I'm on twice, and sometimes I'm on later than expected.
We just want people to stay tuned.
Today.
We just want people to stay tuned in because what they do in television is study every time someone comes on. They look at your ratings. The reason they keep calling CK back is because their ratings spike when she comes on. We want you to call Court TV and let them know that she should have a show. Boom. You don't have to say it. I did. Go on, CK.
I love you, CK.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love y'all too.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking
3
about.
o'clock today, and I want you all to know, whenever, and I find opportunity, especially like in the Murdoch cases. In the Murdoch cases, do people know that Judge Newman, an African-American judge, a great jurist, he made history. There's some great judges, and this is all covered on Court TV. And of course, I met him. So, and why did I meet him? Because National Bar, the National Bar, we meet all the judges. They are us and we are them. When we have stellar judges that are sitting in these cases making great rulings, they go unnoticed, but they don't go unnoticed by me because it's important for when I'm doing commentary to bring all perspectives in and perspectives that people haven't heard and things they haven't looked at. And I got to hand it to Court TV because, at least for now, they're embracing those perspectives because I see some things through a certain lens. And social justice has always got to be a part of legal commentary from my standpoint. It's just it's all in how you frame it. You can say something and get the same point across and framing it differently. And that's what I try to do, to give people the idea to think about things differently, for jurors to think about issues differently, for potential jurors think about issues differently, because that's the only way I believe that we'll get justice and that people will participate in the judicial process. Criminal justice reform, all these cases beg for criminal justice reform, even though most of the defendants are not defendants of color that I do commentary on. It begs for criminal justice reform because a lot of times the victims of the system are people of the criminal justice system, are people of color. And you see that in these cases. Criminal activity on some level is criminal activity. And it's sometimes, some of the acts that we do are just as heinous as the acts that other people do.
Absolutely.
But the need for criminal justice reform. So there's one set of rules, not it's going to happen to you because you're this and it's going to happen to you because you're that. One set of rules to be applied equally. That's what it is. If somebody else is going to be treated one way because they are not a person of color, then people of color should be treated that way. But I'm not in favor of letting everybody off the hook. I'm more in favor of fairness and equality and no discrimination and a better system of criminal justice. And that's what, in my assessment, my commentary on Court TV affords me the opportunity to say when the opportunity comes up. Every case isn't about that. But when it is, oh, my goodness. And that's a narrative that, that we have to say. I mean, sometimes if you have the voice, you need to say it. But it's also, you have to build up the credibility in your legal, in my impression for what I do in my legal analysis, knowing the rules of evidence. Like, there's some things that I comment on that I know cold because I'm a trial lawyer, and I'm never too old to refresh my recollection. I'm always there just checking some rules of evidence, because when you're doing commentary, it's right there on the spot. You don't have the time to do, I get the topic sometimes the night before, and then they change the morning of because some late breaking news on another case has happened. So for those who are interested in doing it, it's great, but you need to know the rules of evidence and the rules of engagement and the criminal justice system and the civil system cold. It ain't the time for you to be researching stuff while you're there. And so I enjoy doing that, Santita, and thank you for, giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, I'm glad you make the time because I know you're busy. I know that. So thank you. Thank you. I mean, well, as you are on your way of going on, Dwight, is there anything you'd like to add?
other than, again, TK was right on point.
Dwight, we couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me? I was saying that I think she was right on point, and I really like her analysis of the fact that this shouldn't be a one-off for Biden. That this should be a start. This should be the invocation, not the benediction, and he should move on all these other issues with the same intensity that he's moved on this issue, voter rights and criminal reform and there are a lot of issues out there that he need to put his gravity on the side of. So I appreciate CK saying that.
Well, because I think it would help him, Dwight. I think it would help him.
I gotta run.
Okay.
I'm running to meet away. I gotta run. Okay,
Sending you much
bye-bye.
love.
Love you all. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Love
Bye-bye.
you. Dwight, I think it would help him, I think
I think it would help him politically, but I don't know how he has to also analyze, the corporate part of the Democratic Party and what their positions are. You don't want to antagonize that crowd either. So that's why I say you really have to figure out whether he's a Pharaoh or Moses in this, because sometimes it looks like he two ends against the middle.
That is a heck of a point. Pharaoh or Moses. Choose this day whom ye will serve. How about that piece? Well, Dwight McKee, is there anything you'd like to add? Is there anyone here? Reverend Dr. Uri, are you still here, or did you might have had to go to court?
I'm still here.
What? Okay, I didn't know. I never know if you've had to go on off to court. Your closing thoughts.
Well, I think that it's already been kind of stated very well, right? This is it's an important moment. It is not the establishing of a movement on behalf of the broad bases of interest in the electorate. It could be an important starting point for the sitting president to reclaim the focus on his agenda on behalf of the people. I think that's an opportunity that he should not miss. But to the distinctions, right? Politics is a game of self-interest. On one hand, you've got the labor interest as it is playing out with the automakers. On the other hand, you've got the immigration reform interests that are going on with Venezuelan immigrants. You also have other interests that are part of the national agenda that have not yet gotten the same kind of focused attention. And so I think Dwight is right. I think CK's right. I think Mark is right. I think we've heard everybody on this panel just kind of hit the point that yes, this is an important gesture from the president to make sure that he stands with the workers. But we don't need gestures. We need outcomes. We need policy change, and we need enforcement. And if we're not going to get it from this president, then the people have a duty to their own self-interest to make sure that someone who's going to advance their self-interest is going to come through. And if not, then you either keep looking or you cultivate the kind of thought, passion, and commitment to the interests on behalf of the masses, and you find someone who's willing to be a Moses in Pharaoh's house.
Moses. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, you know what? I'm going to look at this debate tonight, see how that shapes up. I hope that people will watch that. We definitely have to talk about that tomorrow. And just continue to see what the developments are today, because they are still in the midst of a negotiation. And I'm pulling for these workers. I am. They need prosperity wages. They need restoration, and they also need growth. They deserve that. Everybody else has been getting it. And even if everybody else hadn't, everybody deserves to be able to grow, not just the 1%, 99. Everybody, there's enough. What did Reverend Otis Moss Jr. say? God will supply your every need, not your every greed. There's enough on this earth for everybody to have their needs met and many of our desires. And everything you desire, you're not supposed to have anyway. So stop.
Well, it's interesting, and thank you for that, URA, is that when the workers get dividends, it's communism. When the management get dividends, it's capitalism. It's interesting how that works.
It's also called Jubilee. Well, how about that? Crazy. And we really need to be mindful of that, Dwight McKee. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go, Dwight?
No, I just got it out.
Okay. All right. I'm sending everybody much love today. Thank you, Ricardo. Cannot wait to see you at this fair. I'm going to get through just for a few minutes tomorrow, and everybody, you will be able to get the things that I'm so glad that you were able to speak with Commissioner Lowry. We're going to talk with him again tomorrow so that you could be reminded to go to the fair, but to talk about all of these other health issues they're going to be looking at: heart, stroke, your dental health, your mental health. Black men, and particularly between the ages of 15 and 24, are killing themselves at alarming rates. There's something called suicide by homicide. There is a lot going on within our community and within the Black community. And they say, my great grandmama Tibby used to say, when Black folks, when white folks have a cold, Black folks have pneumonia. We are the canaries in the mine. We are the indicator of something that has gone wrong, and we're also the indicator of things that when they go right. So let's deal with the health, everybody. We've got a healthcare crisis in this country. We should not have that. We have a healthcare opportunity in this country. We can pick up this baton and deliver superior healthcare to every man, woman, and child. We can do that. But we have to change our minds about healthcare being a right. It's a right. It shouldn't be a privilege. We treat it as a privilege when it should be a right. Ricardo should not have to be scrounging around, having to negotiate with Loyola Hospital and with his insurer after they said that your PSA numbers are off the charts. He's finally able to get the MRI, but then you won't give him the biopsy? So he's supposed to walk around with this information and his family, scared to death. Are you serious? That's not right. It's ridiculous. America has 330 to 340 million people, conservative numbers from the census. We don't have 1 million beds. There is no plan for us to be well. And you need to raise hell about that. Oh my goodness, we have a pandemic. People are out in the streets. Yeah, they're in the streets because there are no beds. There are no beds because we are closing hospitals. We had more hospital beds in 1975, 1.4 million, than we have today. We got more people. And you're not going to vaccinate your way out of an illness. You're not. You need your baseline health to be right. Vaccines help, but they're not the only thing that you need. You need everything, and you need medicines that work. And you need a body that works. And you got to fuel a body properly. We've got to do that. And we must demand our right to the tree of life. Excellent food, excellent housing, excellent educational opportunities, vocational or academic. We deserve that. And you need to know that you deserve that. And you need to think enough of yourself to know that you're somebody and fight for it. Go for it, everybody. I love you. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. It is my privilege to be with you, And so, God bless you. I'll see you in the morning on the Santita Jackson Show. I love you, everybody. God bless. Dwight McKee, Reverend Dr. Todd Deary, sending y'all much